going on? It's Winslow. Quick one. This video has been on Patreon for a couple months now. It's a full mix down. You guys been asking about this for a while, and I couldn't knock it out on the stream or anything. So here's one long video of me mixing down one of our patron homies' tunes, Krispe. If you want to see videos like this before they come out on YouTube, if they ever do, they're always on Patreon. The link is in the description. It's a couple bucks to support. Yeah. So get set in. There's chapters in the description so you can skip around. Any questions, stick them in the comments. If you would like me to mix down your tune, as long as you're all right with me making a video out of it, head over to Patreon, drop me a message, all those things. Yeah, more to come. Anyway, go listen to Mr. Winslow. So a couple weeks, month at this point now, I posted like on Patreon about mixing down some of your tunes, and I got sent a couple folders worth of stems. So I'm gonna start on this one in this video. We're just gonna cover kind of some basic stuff on how I approach mixing, from like just getting things organized and grouped correctly for me, by the way, context matters. And then starting with volume, just getting a balance there, then seeing what needs EQ, and starting to go for kind of a touch of character, and adding a bit of, something to give it a sound. Very vague way of putting it, but I get, like, if you're looking for these kind of things, you know what I mean. And then maybe some brief like mastering, but I don't really do that myself unless like it's an actual, like, I'm gonna master somebody else's kind of tune. Shout out Newtone for mastering all my stuff, basically. And yeah, that's kind of it. So this isn't going to be edited around a bunch. This is mostly for you wonderful homies on Patreon. Just get a little look. It'll be a couple of these. I got a couple folders to work through. And yeah, hopefully you learn something. Hopefully, like, oh, he does that too, I do this. Or like, I never thought about doing it that way, and things like that. It's all about, just exchanging information and workflows and all that kind of stuff, because we all do things differently, and we're all really trying to achieve the same thing, which is to have our songs sound good. At least good, Well, yeah. So let's jump into this. Here we go. So these are some stems from Krispe. Unless you say it a different way, but I imagine Krispe is Krispe. Anyway, called Lost and Found. I think he said it was a bootleg, and I just dropped the stems in Studio One, so they look like this, and they get like all rainbow colored. It looks nice, and all that good stuff. Yeah. So first thing I would do is organize. So I have this like already marked one thing is like it's the full tune. So I can keep that muted, and kind of a reference point to where the mix started, and then to compare what I'm doing to it. Okay, so all I'm going to do next is my mic being picked up and all that stuff. Yeah, it is. Duncan, you know what you're doing since it's your first rodeo. Anyway, yeah. So next thing is just kind of organizing. There's a lot of stems. Some of them are repeated. You know how that goes. All right, so let's try and like divvy it up. So we got do. All right, fast forward. It's all organized into how I want to see it, which is all drums are together. Got this little bus in here I don't really need, but I'm gonna keep that muted. This filtery thing, but as far as just a starting point is organization. So I know when I want to treat some drums or some breaks or whatever, I don't have to like, oh, okay, what track is this, and like whatever. Melodic bits are here. These are more lead melodic bits. Let me take this out. So these red ones are leads, kind of like the arpeggio, the main melody sample, all that kind of stuff. And then under the pads group, it's more just like the amorphous, like pad sounds with no real like, maybe percussiveness or main melodic kind of nature. They're a pad the sound. And then we got all those blue like whooshes and washes and effects and that kind of stuff. And then some vocal bits, which may or may not go towards the pads, just because they're not really like, they're more vocals as an instrument and not necessarily vocals as somebody singing. Got a thing. So first thing I would do, now that we're here and organized, well, actually, it wouldn't be the first thing. It'd be the second thing I would do, since after organization, would be just start with volume and just getting a balance using nothing but volume. Yeah, so let's see how that goes. Hydrate. It's gonna be a long one. You want to stay hydrated. So I'm gonna pick a little loop out and just kind of start from there. I'm not aiming for any like set level, like kick hits at this and this and that. Like I don't care about that. I want it to feel a certain way. I want it to sound a certain way. I want there to be space. Okay. So like the kick, if I want the kick to come through, the kick comes through. Okay. If I want the snare to pop through and not be overtaken by the breaks, that's what I'm after. It's just everything's about balance. That's what we're gonna go for. So I'll start the kick because most important like level 1 is like kick and snare. So I want those to kind of start in a certain place. I'll change them as I add things because the more you have going on, the more you're worried about. You're not worried, but considering the relationship between sounds. So here you go. Kick sounds, well, they're two similar stems, so they sound like they're in a good place. Might bring it down for a little headroom. There's a little click in the kick, but that'll be buried in the entire mix. We have a ghost kick. Now I know that ghost kick is going to be different depending on what gets added later on. Like it's very much like just by the kick, the kicks together. It's like, yeah, it's fine. But like when you had like the bass and like some other tops, it's like, all right, maybe bring the ghost kick down a little bit more. So we got snare, other important. Snare really hidden. Can hear some EQ choices I'm going to make. All right, that feels good. This other snare is more of an effect, I guess, and it has. That's the exact same snare. Do I need that? Nah, doesn't seem to be doing anything. And this is just like an effect stem. I don't want to hear myself. Yeah, that's an effect. So I'm gonna move that down to the effects channels because I'm only to be affecting like the main what we're going to consider the break. And let me mute that always. Now since I'm in headphones, I might do working mono a bit just because like it's really easy to judge kind of volumes when you kind of take away the stereo information or like the sense of stereo in a way. That's a better way to put it. Cool. All right. So still not really worried about peaks or levels or anything like that. It's just going by kind of how things sound. All right. Now we got like a break, a big kind of full break, which is the amen. And since the amen isn't really driving it, or you want to feel like it's together, but this amen's too loud right now. Maybe too loud. Not. Now again, just focused on volume because you might be like, hey, that snare can poke through if you like sidechain it and stuff like that. And you are right. And that's what I'm going to do later. Like it's the sidechain's already set up. I just need to kind of turn it on and direct it to where I need to go. But I feel because I'm I'm listening to like when the amen snare changes on like the fourth loop. Bop, bop. Or no, the first one is different than the last four, but like the snare sounds different on like the fourth one. But that's only because it's playing with it. And I think once I knock that transient out of the way with a quick side chain, it'll kind of blend. Just things to consider. Snares and timing and all that stuff. Now we got the main break, which is the amen balance, kind of with the kick and snare. I want to start filling in the gaps with the rest of the break. They can't all be loud, because if everything's loud, nothing's loud. And they can't all be prominent. So we got to kind of pick one that, fits. And whatever's kind of the most consistent. Also, actually, before I even do that, get the hi-hat. Hi-hat's important. I put the hi-hat leaving kind of importance-wise above the amen, sort of. Got a little phasing going on with some information in the hi-hat and the snare and the kick. Tempted to take the hi-hat out, but it's fine. So it's there, it's subtle. If I take it out, I know it's gone. And when it's there, it's low enough to where it feels part of the amen and part of the context of the break as a whole, but it isn't distracting. It isn't like, if I do this feels like, listen to me on a hi-hat. This feels like, hey, I'm here, I'm in the mix. Don't worry, I'm just gonna be in the corner, It's one of those. There we go, another break. It's got some nice shuffles, and the shuffles are useful, but it also has like kind of harmonic content in it, which I'll need to EQ out, basically. And I'll just take a step to do that now, just so I can hear more of the end result. Like, none of that needs to be in there, unless the rest of the tune sounds like that. Let's find out. Nope. All right, so we're good. Back to what I was doing. Like, I'm just shelving it down. I don't need to do like a high pass or a big cut or anything. Just down there, it's buried, especially when the full mix is going. Okay, now we're getting to the territory of adding a lot of breaks that may not need to be there. Okay, because the amen is amen's a very dominant break. Like, you could get away with just using an amen. You can get away with replacing the kick and the snare and still amen, kick, snare, and that's it. Like, it's one of those very dominant. But if you kind of wanted to blend in the mix and add a little bit of other things, it's kind of like, all right, how much are you going to try to fit in there before you're more or less recreating a break? And then like getting rid of the amen. So is the amen the focus or is it not? In this tune, it feels like it should be the focus. So I'm gonna mix it to that point to where the amen is more prominent and everything else kind of fits in that mix, instead of having everything else there be the main kind of food group, as it were. And then like sitting the amen on top, like very high pass, kind of like a technomatic kind of way or something. It's just it's approach. Like, Krispe, if you're watching this, you're like, yo, I didn't really want that. That's one of the things. So if you ever send something to mix to somebody or me or whoever, whatever, like, or just yourself, you're mixing it, think about what you want ahead of time. That'll help you kind of shape the end result as you're going, instead of like, yo, I did all this work and it sounds fine, but it's like what I wanted to be kind of at the forefront and important isn't there now. So like, yeah, Then if you pay somebody and they don't do it and they don't give revisions, then it's another thing. But yeah, this is for the free because I hope anyway, I'm just rambling now. Let me get back to the mix. Yeah. So again, amen, important. And I'm adding the shuffling, right? Now it's in there. It doesn't feel distracting. I like where it's sitting without barely kind of touching it. And then a cymbal. Now this is one of those, all right, you're recreating the break because this is sort of doing what the amen's already doing, except there's a little bit more high-end energy. So you could have this for that like periodic, like high-end kind of pop it has, or you could EQ the amen to just have that in it already in it. But yeah, we'll see. We'll try it. We'll try a couple options. I already hear like a peak that's kind of bothering me in one of these samples. Yeah, see, and then you have like a ghost snare stem, which is like, again, you're just kind of making a break. So maybe the amen isn't going to be the kind of main thing, which is why it's so filtered. Or it's not. Well, I'm going to make it filter it some more, but you know, I think we're going to try to find a happy medium between like your the parts you added and the amen itself to kind of keep it feeling more like a reinforced amen instead of like separate ingredients. Like that can again use a little shell. Not even need that. Again, remember, always kind of have a little bit of context with sounds and EQing. Most doing anything really, but like especially with EQing, like you're EQing for the relationship between sounds more often than just EQing it to well, wrong, but also right. No, like in this context, we're EQing it for the relationship between sounds. So I don't really need that low end in that ghost snare. It's just kind of taking up space. It doesn't need to, you know? But also, like, I wouldn't hear it necessarily the way I'm hearing it if I only had it solo, just the ghost snare, you know? It's like, you listen to like that, it's like, oh, it's weak. I want that back in there. But in the mix of other breaks and, you know, busyness that drum and bass has, you want to listen to it within the context of the things it's going to exist alongside. So that's why I have everything else going. Kind of like that. And I'm still mixing in mono, by the way, in case you're like, why does this sound super narrow? Because there's stereo information, like. But to be fair, I might really mono these drums with how like full on the rest of the mix is. We'll see though. Now we got another ride. Now we're getting real busy. Now you can hear like a room tone like in that, like a very low like sub. Now car. You don't need that in that sound. That's why I'm cutting it out. Okay, so. No, see, this symbol is like, it's not clashing, but it's like, do we need both? Oops, don't do that. Now, how's that feel? Kick, snare, and everything. Okay, relationships there. And then we got the And like that's going to be heard no matter what. But it's not really getting in the way. It is like periodic, you know what I mean? All right, so we kind of got a rough mix of drums. Actually, we don't, because there's two other loops that don't happen at the same time. So let's move over there. Make this loop here. We got these extra bits. Nice little shaker. And a tambourine. I kind of bring those down. I think these, with this how full on it is, maybe you get away with some panning. If I'll know if I want to keep panning when I add like the bass line and the other like top end harmonic bits in, because it could be distracting. So maybe no panning. All right, so we have mixed the drums just using volume, just using the faders. Now I'm going to go through kind of the rest of the track and kind of just kind of live things along. With it being drum and bass, drums and the bass are just going to be kind of your most important kind of foundational elements. You just want to make sure your drums are consistent. Your bass is consistent and at a nice level. It'll dip depending on the notes and things we'll talk about in a second. But you just want that relationship to sit nicely together, just balance. Again, we're all just after balance. Then after that, I'll go into some EQ for the drums, get those to fit nicely, and really kind of just make the drums exactly how I want them, and then the rest of the tune. So here we go. Now we're just going to kind of level the rest of the song. Okay, so drums are in a good spot, I think. Except something's screaming at me right now. Remember, I'm kind of mixing in mono. Because it's easier, especially on headphones, to judge just the level of sounds. All right, so adding some bass. There's two bass stems. They seem to be working together, but one's maybe more pulsed, one's more long, one's longer. So here we go. Okay, they're both kind of the same stem. So I could overlap them or just there's no other bass kind of element. I'm looking to my monitor, my laptop screen over here, because it's got like my analyzer. Yeah. Like but I guess I can pull up this small one. You'll see what I'm seeing. That looks about the same. Not green. So I'm kind of looking where the kick's hitting, which is around like 100. And I'm kind of like trying to get the sub to even out. Yeah, now I'm like, okay, we added this bass in here. That snare sounds like it's lacking. Now bringing the bass back down. Nice. All right, that's a good starting point. It's not perfect. It's not the best. It's just a starting point. All right. So melodic wise, what do we have here? And then it goes straight into just drums and bass. Okay. So that helps, just balance wise. But what does play with the drum while the drums are playing? It's the lead arp. So I think that'd be a good starting point just to figure out balance. So let's start there. Make a little loop. It's kind of 4 bars. But I'm not like, if I was like songwriting stage, I might like want to listen to it more. But I'm really trying to be objective and just kind of like, all right, here's the levels of this. Let's just do that. So now I have that. I'm gonna get rid of the kick or get rid of the breaks. I'm gonna have kick, snare, and the bass, and then whatever this lead arp is. And just trying to sit it somewhere where it feels good. Not with these pads, those are too loud. The bass is rich, but it's a little too rich, so I'm gonna roll it off a little bit. Cause like all this up here, not really needed. That's a riser, so that's effects. That's a good spot. This pad just needs to be messed with right now. That really resonate peak in it. Nice. That's a good spot. What's this other pad? No vocals yet. Although, might as well because they basically work the same or the same purpose. So let's add those in. Okay, so let's go to a different part where they're all kind of playing. And then maybe we can really see the relationship between all these sounds. So let's go over here. I still want that kick to come through. Still want the snare to come through. Those are what's important. Cool. And then like this other thing that happens in a different part. It's like if I want to consider the relationship of how it would normally fit with drums and everything else, I'll just kind of stick it over that same part. There you go. Now it's fitting. So all these melodic stems are really just kind of like songwriting wise, just like a continuation of the same like thing, you know? Like one melody turns into the next melody, turns into the next one. They're all supporting the similar or same idea. So once you kind of get them all balanced together, like no matter where they are in the track, they'll kind of feel the same void or the same purpose. And that's kind of the whole tune because everything else is just like samples and or effect stuff. So with those, I'm just going to do a quick like fader bring down. Let's see how it goes. That was the wrong one. Not those. These blue ones. That's the wrong color blue. Duncan, come on, man. Actually, it's the right color blue. It's just the wrong one. Anyway, colors make a difference for my organization purposes. We still recording. Yeah, I just want to make sure this. All right, half hour in. We're only like on step 1. The rest will be simple because once volume's kind of worked out, you don't have to do much else. That thing just beat me over the head. This little sound. More needs to be felt than like punched through the whole mix. Jeez, what's else? What else is hitting there? Both of those, and then that's not even what I'm after. It's this thing. Let me make sure those are together because it works as a unit. All right, let me even this one out and bring it down. Kind of even them out together, then I'm gonna, select them all then. So all context. What am I hearing? I'm hearing something's just too like spiky. Oh. This one, liquid break. There you go. How can you tell when it's mono? Just I've been doing this for so long. I know what I'm kind of listening for. Cool. All right. And then if I remove all of that, remove the mono-ness, we should be in good standing. Also, I'm tempted to do like some more like songwriting stage stuff and like filter things a bit differently, but I'm going to leave that alone because I imagine you had a reason for doing that. Doing things the way you did them. All right. And also that cost extra. Nah, we're good. So now that we have an even balance of things and, everything's kind of marked out by volume, the next stage is EQing. I think especially the drums, there's a lot of just busyness and things that could be cleaned up. So we're mostly going for cleanup stages, not like writing, not cutting things and making grooves or whatever. We just want it to fit together nicely. Volume's out of the way, so I won't run into like the case of like I won't run into the case where it's like you EQ something so much that all you're really doing is turning it up or down in volume, but I'm just altering the sound so the relationship between other sounds is better. That's it. All right, here we go. Still recording, all good. I don't want this to mess up. I'm doing such a good job. Anyway, yeah. So drums. Can I get an overall ness of the mix? Actually, I lie. I stopped because I want to make sure I'm not messing up the mix. So let's see how it sounded before, like square one. All right, that's how it sounded before. I took a crack at it, and now this is what it sounds like now. A bit louder, but okay. Kicks cut through a bit more. It is just louder, because of the way I have it like evened out. And I think like even the stems are a bit louder than the like full tune, the full mix down that he sent. So it might have been something like on the bus that turned it down a little bit or something. But yeah, I think we're in a good spot. So now I'm just gonna focus on drums. I want the drums to fit together a certain way. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do some EQ, we're gonna do some other character bits. We're gonna make it sound good to me because everything is contextual and like my ears sound a certain way, your ears sound a certain way, or hear a certain way. My ear, I don't know what my ear sounds like. I know it hears a certain anyway. Here we go. I like that. Kind of like the punch. Me personally, I'm going to EQ. Courtesy, get rid of that. Rest of that's good. Now I got the ghost kick. I'm really kind of get rid of that low end. Because with that boom, like really strong, like harmonic bass, this is gonna get in the way. Let me hear with the snare. Low end doesn't need to be there. Like who needs that? Like boom. Now I could cut or I could shelve. I'm gonna try this first. I'm hearing this, which is like, sorry, headphone users. That's what. It's all right. I think just hearing it by itself, I'm like, ew, a little bit. Kind of soften at top. So we got the kick. Let me hear how it sounds with bass. Maybe it's about context. So now it's like, okay, it feels a bit different with that bass in there. Let me do my little quick side chain, which for kick and bass, I like track spacer. Sometimes I'll do the odd, well, depending on what it is, like track spacer is this kind of side chaining. And then, like if I side chain like the snare against the loops and the percussion and stuff, that'll be like your normal compression, like just to get the peak to knock through. But I want this to more fit in the bass. So we're going for a more accurate, I guess frequency accurate approach. Too much. Now the kick just kind of fits in the pocket. This is bothering me. Plus there's like a harmonic, a lower harmonic. Okay, that works for me. Man, now hat. EQ first. There's a lot of just weirdness that's phasing along with the other sound. Also, this fits in the Amen, so there you go. I don't even want to do much to this. Also, when it comes to low pass, high pass, I'm not really going past like a 24 decibel octave, decibel per octave cut. Just because when you start like piling up really sharp cuts, you get like phase issues. Like not anything big, but when you have like 40 sounds all cut around the same place, that's when it all adds up to just kind of gross sounds you don't need. So I like frequency buildup is what I'm basically getting at. So yeah, no real sharp cuts. Just make it fade. Done a real good job of like taming that Amen, because I hate Amens just for that reason of how like bad they can be to work with. Already kind of EQ'd this one. All right, this has it's a little too spiky for me, so I'm gonna take Transient Master too far so I can hear what I'm listening for. Now it's really blending. It's kind of reinforcing that like that part of the Amen. So yeah, I'm thinking of reinforce instead of, hey, listen to this exact sound. It's more how they're working together. Again, balanced relationship, all that kind of stuff. Shuffle. Like that. EQ. I just don't want that like floor sound. So even like here, like once I had that main volume balance going, I'm really just doing more like a specific volume balance by frequency, that's what EQing is. Okay. I'm not carving out the sound too much. I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm just kind of leveling it out so it fits together. So like in these past couple of samples, I've just taken out some low end to make that gel better. Small things like that. Like you don't like it's context. It's contextually like, what are you doing? Like this isn't the kind of tune that needs a bunch of like crazy specific like work, it's just balance, it's just EQ and all that. So there we go. Here we continue to go. Now this, I don't want to hear myself again. Okay, I'm hearing some like stereo information that I don't really want. Like I don't need it in like a very buried in sound. So let me get rid of that. And that's just my kind of preferred way. Like if you solo, it's like, a lot of energy is gone from that one sound, but like the context of it all is the sound still kind of, it works the way you wanted it to. It's just like, it sounds a little cleaner in the mix to me. And I'll add like a reverb in later. A little bit more. That low end come back. Yeah. All right, cool. That's that. Again, we're still EQ stage. If you want to skip ahead, go ahead. Fitting that in too. Let me add some bass context. How does this transition? How does this area? I feel like the tambourine wants to be heard. So I might do this. Again, we're just mixing. We're trying to get it all to fit together. But I'm gonna do a little stereo dealy deal on there. And that should help me get that what I was after. So now it's like wide, but that kind of fits along. Like it won't distract. Shouldn't distract. But I can like hear it more. But it has space to be heard, you know? And it adds a little bit more kind of excitement because now those highs are pushed to the side and your ear will perk up in a different kind of way. Yeah, that feels good. The cymbal will splash. It's a very long sound. Fine, just need some EQ. Not much. Also has a slight right pan on it. I'm like tempted to make it just down the center, but you know, you don't need to do that. Because it's adding energy. All right, cool. Then you got the ride, right? Already EQ'd that. And then it's I don't really need to do anything to this, but like, why not? Make it pop out in the mix a bit more. I like it. Who doesn't? Not that though. Yeah, this has some like resonant peaks, which it has to be the sound it is. But like, I'm gonna try to tame them a bit. Just dynamic EQ. It's kind of similar thing. Not even doing anything. Mute it. Not much of anything actually. Yeah, but it helps. It works for me. All right. Now I haven't done any side chaining. Let's make the snare cut through the mix. So really bad version, yeah. And now I just want the top to cut through, or the transient. I don't want that. Fairly quick, so you don't hear the duck. You just feel the quack, the duck. You don't hear the duck. You don't hear it ducking, but like the transient comes through in the way you want it to. So if I take it off, I'll take it on or put it on. So with off, it works, it fits, but like with it on, there's just that much more definition. And there's kind of a little bit security, as in like when I limit things later on, like once you start bringing the dynamic range down, it's like, is that break going to really start to interfere with that snare? And if I do this, then it won't, ideally. Kick's coming through fine, but I'm gonna still do this. So I can hear it. And in this case, it's got a nice thing going on is where I can take this stem, stick it in my side chain. It's my ghost send that's already set up. I'm then gonna do a quick thing to make sure there's no sustain to the sound. And then I'll just get the click, and that way that click will come through, and then I can shape it. I can better shape it instead of having like the compressor follow the envelope or the shape of the full-on kick that has a bit more body and stuff to interfere with. Now, should you or should you not sidechain? Who cares? It's up to you. There's no right or wrong answer to any of this. The right answer is always, and I will die by this. It's always, it depends. Now, like, even the kick has space when I turn stuff down. Drums already sound loads better. Now, what I'll do next is in this entire percussion bus, I'll just make sure I like low pass or high pass a lot, like just globally, not that much, but just kind of like the real low end. And not much, but just like you affect things as a whole. It gives the whole a sound together. Now how do the drums how does everything sound basically? Cool. So, like, it's been an hour and I haven't done much other than volume and EQ. So, you really can see, like, there's not much else. There's not a whole lot to do as far as mixing goes. You're really just going for the balance of, all your sounds. Big up Krispe. I already did like a good like preliminary mix on this, so I don't really have to do anything, And that comes from sound selection. That comes from just having things fit and sort of mixing as you go, just to kind of get us a semblance of a final relationship. We always really have like the end result in mind as we're working on things, and that just kind of helps the process along. Like you don't want to really mix when you only have a loop and not like the whole song. But you also like it helps if like you don't have any glaring like this has too much low in it, and I'm not going to wait till the end of the process of this to get rid of that. It's like an ever going thing. There's no real like this step by step 1, 2, 3. There's always like step 1, there's step 2, there's step 3, 4, and 5 all together. And then, you repeat step 3 at the same time, you repeat step 7, and, oh, here comes step 10, like, way a couple steps, it's just that's just how this goes. So, drums are in a good spot, EQ and volume, everything else is kind of in a good spot. Now I'm gonna really just kind of slap the drums together even more, just kind of, bus process them. so they really sit consistently, and then fill in the gaps as long as the rest of the mix and like add a bit of character here and there, and then quick like leveling master, just like bringing it up, making it loud. That should be it. That should be it. I hope this is useful. I'm gonna put some chapter markers and stuff, all those kind of things. But this is really all I do, especially when I'm at the end of not writing the song anymore, but just mixing it to send off the mix, have it mastered, and get it out of my head. You know, like this is all I really do. This like I could do more, but like I'm not sound designing. I'm mixing. I'm not producing. I'm mixing. I'm not songwriting. I'm mixing. I'm just making being objective with the ingredients and balancing them out. That's it. That's mixing, in my opinion. Whatever. Anyway, back to it. All right, from this point, I like a bit of compression on my drums. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to also kind of visually show you what I'm looking for with my good old pal Smexoscope. Stick down here, pin it. Now you can see what I'm doing. All right, so if we look at it now, that's the drums. Okay, so there's some peaks. I can see some amen peaks in there, some snare peaks, kick peaks. Like that's our kick, right? Little fat snare. And then I got the amen. That's what I'm really seeing peak. And the hi-hat. The hi-hat's adding some peaks. So it's not a whole lot, but I'm gonna compress it anyway. And it's more for character. I don't do hard compression, but anyway, it's just kind of doing this. So this is my compressor of choice. You've seen it in loads of track breakdowns. Unless you haven't watched those, and I invite you to watch those. So some of this will seem like kind of like, oh, he does this all the time. That's how he gets the sound. Because a big thing about like looking at this from like a professional point of view of like, I'm doing this a lot. I'm building up habits. I'm building up routines that serve me in a way that gets that process out of the way. So I use things I'm familiar with, not because I'm like stuck on that. And I like this is like an internet thing. It's like, oh, you're just afraid to use something else, and that's better, and this is better. It's like, no, the sound I'm going for, I achieve with these plugins, and I know I achieve them with these plugins because I've done it so many times, and I've refined the way to get what I want. Okay. And the thing about being professional or a professional and doing this over and over is being able to repeat those things over and over in a consistent way that gives like your tunes a consistent sound, a consistent end result, and that end result being the sound that you want. Okay. Like the songwriting's out of the way. It's going to sound how it sounds. But from a technical, very specific to the sound point of view, which is mine, okay, I want it to sound a certain way. I want things to hit a certain way. And I achieve that with the plugins I use. And I repeat that process so it can be consistent. I don't want to like redo my workflow every time I start a new project because that would be silly. All right. Some people can do that. That's cool. You know, but when you find your way of doing things and that way works for you, stick to that. Okay. Invite other outside options as things go on. Oh, you want to try this compressor? Go for it. Okay. Things like that. But really learn the things you're using instead of just like, oh, that's cool. I heard that was cool on the internet and never really knowing anything. It's like you can dabble. It's fun. Dabble in all of it, but like make sure you specialize in one thing. In this context. Okay, in this context, because you'd be like, oh, just make one genre and like dabble in others. But like in this context, we want a repeatable, in my opinion, we want a repeatable process that basically makes it objective instead of, oh, I feel this, or I think because this looks cool and because of outside influence, I should use it. You just want to be objective. This plugin does what I wanted to do, so I'm going to use it. Here we are. Rant, but these are for rants, right? That's what you want to know. Level it. And then I like clicking both of these. Punch and dirt adds a little grit. But that's just louder, so it sounds better. You're right. Let me turn it back down. Knocked off. Now it's on. Off. On. And it's not even compressing yet because I don't even have that turned on. So I'm gonna start doing that just a little bit. 1 or 2 dBs. And it's just, for me, it's kind of pulling the sound together, like just limiting the dynamic range, bringing the quiet parts up and the loud parts down to where it feels a little bit more even. Off. On. And like, this is a good one to, like, if you really want to crush it, like, you can like do it in parallel and stuff like that. I don't bother. Nice. All right. Now I'm going to add a bit of EQ for balance. Now I'm still in mono, so I understand that like things just sound duller in mono. When I make it wide, it starts like, oh, the brightness is back. So EQ, a little bit out of the mid range, low end, nah. Little, what, half a dB bump, 2.5. Or no, wait, it's just, yeah, it's a shelf at 2.5. Just to make it a little brighter. So off, on. I'm not really worried about anything else. This yeah, as far as just like balancing the sound, this EQ is really nice. The Mag 4, whatever you call it, plug-in alliance, super nice. Catch it on sale, because otherwise it's like $250 instead of like 20. You know, it's one of those. So no plugins on the bus. And then just EQ and compression. Feels a bit more balanced, a bit richer. I'm hearing something. I'm feeling like I could take a little bit out of that snare and be fine. All right, just a little mid-range. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so now I'm gonna do another EQ. Real hype up there. I like it though. Roll off some of those super highs. Yeah, and then me, I like a bit more smash. So let's go with Little Radiator. That's been one of my favorites from Sound Toys. That's wrong. It's a little plate. I don't want reverb. These drums, I don't really feel they need reverb, although I will do that in a second. Spell it right, dummy. Yeah, take that noise button off. Now just playing, it's gonna like be wrecked. But here we go. Really limited, right? All right, but back it off. Yeah, it's starting to like really push. The kick is really pushing it and like starting to make it fart a little bit. I don't want that. Are you gonna close on me? Froze on me. Do 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 do. Do 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 boo 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 do 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 do, and we're back. Anyway, that was fun. Yeah, this plugin, just like this plugin, does that sometimes. And that's annoying. So this is very much character adding kind of plugin. It's doing a little bit of limiting, a little bit of like emulation of like this preamp. I just like it. It kind of rolls off the top end, adds a little bit of character, less digital, but kind of, you know, it's all digital, but you know what I mean? Like, yeah. Yeah, it's like exciting the highs a bit, but it is making my kick fart. So let's get rid of it. Not rid of it, just exit out. Add an EQ. And adds that low, kind of a low end bump, which I won't do with this. Don't need any of that. Here it is. Yeah, we're there. And then I was talking about that high pass. I like using this passive EQ from Native Instruments and just like kind of getting rid. I don't really need sub and deep low end in my drums, at least in this case. You open this one back up. That's not going to show you anything. So it doesn't go too low already, but like I'm going to make it go not too low more. Not there. Like 39 feels good to me. And that's just like a roll off, like a slide. And then maybe actually might put that before so I can. But see, you see that now without the low cut, and then without the low cut now, and then with it, it's gone. And that low frequency, even though I don't really hear it, like a plugin can hear it. So you just kind of want to think of that. And then after that is, because I already got a little bit of saturation limiting with that little radiator. If we look at the, not that. If we look at this, if I take radiator off, a little bit more peaky, put it on, it tames it a little bit. Yep. And then for me personally, it's usually maximize it. It's the last thing. Let's flip that on. And I level match it. Like this whole time I've been matching levels is gain staging. Like I want to make sure what I'm doing is having the desired effect other than turning the volume up and making it sound better, but not exactly doing anything, you know? That's what gain staging is about. Is just making sure your reference point is always there. So when you make changes and you alter sounds, you can actually hear what you're doing. When you turn something up, it normally sounds better. It doesn't make it better, but it normally sounds better. So like I leveled after the radiator, I leveled after the compression, because if I'm just making the thing loud, I can just limit it, but that's not really helping me. Okay. Cat, you are not helping either. Just walked in. I guess he just woke up. All right. So I'm gonna turn this volume down and just take off the peaks. Not that. That radiator is pushing it. Mate, you don't need anything. He's gonna try to jump on the desk. That's what he's looking for. Dynamic EQ. There you go. Now you understand like how hard it is to make videos. This cat is like needy sometimes. Now I'm gonna level this back. And that's how I want it. Mate, go. Take a walk. Like, you don't need to be in here. All right, cool. I was like, you're not gonna help me mix this tune. Just like go sit in the sun for a little bit longer. All right, we were talking about drums. That feels a bit pushed. Now, as I've kind of really pushed these sounds, I'm starting to hear, like, because the dynamic range is less, I'm starting to hear more kind of issues that are like peaking up. Speaking of peaks, these hi-hats. Blending it back into the mix. We're bringing a bit of body back to this, amen. Little body back to the snare. Nice. Okay. So what do we have with everything? Cool. And now I have a little reference point as well because he gave me the stem for all his break beats. Very reverbed. All right. Mate, why are you back? Now I'm gonna add that reverb. Just give it some air. I like putting it on the actual drum bus. Have a little preset because I normally use the same thing. You know, very short, adds a room sound, doesn't distract. And it's basically the ambience, very small ambience in one of these. 8.4. Because the drums are already so live and busy. He's gonna add a room without making it drony. There we go. And then I'm gonna put it at the beginning of the chain. So it goes through all the stuff and gets like very baked into the sound. Hopefully it works. Just checking the camera. I thought it had the overheating symbol. Yeah, it's getting there. The second bass, I want to have a bit more like low end. Okay, now I'm in a different section. Hearing a little bit too much of the side. Help tighten the sound a bit. Carry on to the bass. Yeah. I'm gonna do a little snap to cue myself, but I'm not really worried. I do a kind of similar thing. It's just mostly a little compression to help it fit together, a little bit of saturation to help bring out some color, which it doesn't really need, but it'll help bring both stems together. So saturating color will give me this. Don't want that. It's got this nice little macro for compression, more or less. Really place that bass where I want it to be. Very consistent. Full mix. Don't want that. With mate, you gotta go. Okay. It is a very full-on tune, so it's like you really got to think of how things are matching up. All right. Stereo bass. Yeah, I don't want to do it this way. So I'm going to go passive EQ I'll still use, but I'm going to try Ozone Imager. Add a thing. And then make it mono. And that way. Just because, like, if it's too low, like the real low end, like it just phases, adds like stuff I don't want or like. Solid low end. That's all we want. There you go. Without losing the warmth. There we go. Without. And then with. Yeah, the really low end is more focused. It's right there, and the kick has a place to fit. It's consistent. And that's what I like. That's what we like. It's a strong, powerful low end, but you still get the warmth of having a little bit of stereo information in the low end. Then that's kind of bass. Like bass, I don't really do anything else. Yeah, so doing a little couple adjustments, trying to see like because the snare feels different here versus you know. So try to find some, see how it fits bass wise. Man, it's because like the pads and stuff are like what's drawing me in. I might add a reverb to this because it's just a little dry to me. Actually, yeah. How does the parts that aren't drum sound? Nope. It's like audibly distorted. But yeah, we're basically there. Now it's like a couple things. I just want to tie this top in together with some reverb. Let's go Supermassive for the pads. Wrong one, actually. I want a shimmer. And that's not already in that bus. All those like muted plugins are like, again, go-tos. This is tied together. And then this EQ just knocks out some of that mid, which normally happens. Mono. Taming that, some high-end stuff. I don't know. To be fair, like one thing I am thinking of as I'm doing this is the objectiveness of it all. So I'm trying to get what's there to fit a bit better. Like there are lots of cases to where like my producer brain wants to like, hey, let's just switch out this thing because it's not really needed or it's not really serving the purpose I think you want it to be. Like this kind of like it's named liquid break or whatever, but it's a bit of like a high end shuffle, and it's like I could work it so if it's better, but also kind of like what if it was just a different sound kind of thing. And then like the snares, like it's nice, but like I would personally want a bit more thump and less kind of wide in. But like again, being objective for a mix down purpose, just leaving it how it is. So just consider that. And I guess I'm saying it for my own like sake. So here we go. Same thing. Play the thong. Play the thong. Play the song. One thing I like doing is not having drums at all and just seeing how the melodic stuff balances together, because the drums are very distracting. We need them, but we don't need them all the time. I think I can EQ this little like boom thing. Have a less like kick kind of punch. There you go. Yeah, and like that with the big wide like reverb at the end, or in the middle is just kind of like, I don't know, it's disgusting to me. It's not like you made a wrong choice, but like, it just doesn't need to be there. Like, you know? It has more of an impact when it's not so wide. Yeah. Because if you go from that wide impact to the nice shimmery bits, it's like narrow, the clouds open up, you know? Now I'm hearing how like this main stem's going melodically, and I think I might want to send these arcs to pads. Don't know yet. Let's try it. EQing. Adding a bit more to the kick because I'm feeling like that's getting hidden. I kind of want the punch. There's a resonance. I just don't like that. I have to do this out of my kicks too. Is that. And that already, again, like, let's listen to the mix that we started with and then see where we are. I feel like, because I could be completely losing the plot here and just like in a hole I've created myself. So lots of space with the breaks. Snare's very loud. Not too loud, but very upfront. All right, cool. And now let's see what I've done and if we like it or we don't. Anything can happen. Quick save, because you never know what's going to happen. A little louder, but again, kind of hear it. Gonna be honest, I want like some top end on this Amen, but like stereo wise. Does it have any stereo information? Because then I could do something with that. Do that, let me do this. Got a bit. So what if let's go excite. Exciter just on this sound. All right, let's throw it in mid-side mode for side. Okay. Try it a little bit up top. No, it's out of balance. Try and see what it was. I like the way one feels. I can really feel like the sides opening up. Not a crazy amount, but now if I take the EQ, just do the sides, I should be able to get a little bit of information out. didn't really work. All right, fair. Like this is where I would pick a different sampler or something. But I think it'll work. Like it still is a like, you know, as for what's there, it's fine. Let's go with that. Not with the full thing. Kick's farting. Gonna bring up the level a bit on the master. Let's see what let's hear what we hear. All right, so mind your ears. Pretty loud. What this is really showing me by kind of crushing it is that the bass is too loud. And you said the bass was too loud. And then you, wrong one. And then you turned it up louder. Yeah, that's me. Ooh. All right. Now back to ozone. And see, I can push it a bit more and it doesn't fart so much like blah, blah, blah. Like it doesn't do that because the bass is more in a good area. But this is still way too limited. So. And now there's not, yeah, it's really coming together. It's not really mastering. I just leveled it out a little bit. Yeah, I gotta make that sidechain a little tighter. Quick thing, just to see how the kick and everything's fitting together, low pass the mix. I like that. All right. Then the rest of the tune. Wait, something's hitting. There you go. That's even. I don't always go past the end. For high pass, like this super low end, but this 22 is fine. Add a bit more. This is kind of final, like pre-master kind of mix thing. Add a little bit of back to that low end. tambourine could you actually use its own reverb. What have I been using? The room for that, and then like a hall, like this. Let's give it some. Not that. How would fit? It's not. It's subtle. Top end, the side. Ooh, that tambourine reverb. Maybe a quick snare, sort of sidechain on like the melodic bit, so it really cuts through. Just a wee bit, and then it's really affecting more the mids than the sides, but it is affecting both. But now I'm gonna add a little EQ, a little color to the melodics, and we are done. I'm expecting them all together because I want them to have a similar tone. So, original mix. And then my mix. There's a little push. There's some distorty bits, but it's like slight. It's got a little bit of character. Right, yeah. I know I was kind of avoiding doing this, but on the drums, I usually go with soothe. That helps kind of clean up a lot of that resonant buildup. Before the limiter, let's see what I just kind of preset it. Usually drum room harsh. That kind of helps clean up. Especially when it comes to limiting. Yeah, that's helping. How's it feel full mix? And yeah, so you just evened out that top end, which I was going to start EQing like a madman, and then I was like, nah, I got this plugin. That's it. That's really a mix. Like that's 2 hours. That's fair. If I'm just mixing, it might take me that long. Just to kind of, I mean, I did a little, well, maybe not as long because I'd still kind of have a good mix already going. Not good as in like it's already fine. Like I'm so good at this, but I mean like it's already kind of set because I mix as I produce, kind of thing. So to be a little bit more final things, like I never even bounce stems and then mix. Like it's all same project. Like I kind of bounce stems, but like in a way, that's different conversation now. But all I did again, big picture, is just balance things. First was volume, then was EQ for more specific, like frequency based volume. That's all EQ is. And then started to kind of alter things for the drums, like color, saturation, a little bit of compression, a little bit of limiting, get rid of peaks I don't need. I didn't really go into clipping and stuff like that because I personally don't do that unless like the tune calls for it, and this one doesn't because it's like my man Krispe relatively did everything already. So I just kind of fit things together. And then added a bit of reverb on the melodic bits to really kind of place it in this room and have like, that reverb tail kind of fill in sort of dead zones in a way, soundstage wise. That's a preference, not really a thing you need or have to do. All of this is preference based. Like you could mix this completely different, but it's me. It's Winslow. Uh, and then the effects, I didn't really do anything. They're mostly there, like volume wise. It's fine. I did a little bit of EQing and balance on the whole mix down as a whole. All I did was bring the level up with the limiter. I didn't do any real like mastering kind of stuff. I just made it loud to kind of give myself that again that idea of an end result. So when you send this off to a mastering engineer, you kind of feel like, oh, this is what it's going to sound like when it's loud. Oh, if I limit the absolute mess out of this, that bass is going to start farting. Let me bring that bass down now. You know, those kind of things. It's all about the mix. It's all about balance. It's as technical or as not technical as you want it to be. But in this case, it was pretty straightforward. All right. Like if you take away anything from this, is that the basics, volume, panning, and EQ will get you like 90% there. The rest is just a little bit of seasoning, a little bit of character, a little bit of something. But most of the actual sound of the thing, the project, the song, is done in way earlier stages. Is when you pick your samples, is when you pick your synths and your sounds and you sound design and you carve things the way you want them to sound as instruments by themselves. Mixing is just making all those choices really fit together on a more finer scale and big picture as well. You're thinking small macro, like what's going like or macros big. You're thinking macros and like the whole thing, and then you're thinking micros and like, all right, do these loops fit together? Does this fit together? Because the more you start to fit together, things fit. The more you start to try to make things fit together, the more you have to consider their relationship and like, all right, this has a lot of high end in it, but this has low end, and it has high and low end, but this has low end, and I like this low end more. Let me EQ the low end out of this one up here, and so put this one under it. And then it's like there's all these little decisions. And the small decisions make, add up to the big picture. And the big picture is the final result. And the final result is what makes you dance and pleased. So hopefully, Krispe, this kind of like, maybe this is the sound you're going for. Maybe you don't like it at all. I would do a little bit more altering things myself. It's a little bit pushed in some places, especially the drums. But that's also like stylistically kind of what things are going, like what things should do. Just kind of be a little pushed, be in your face, be upfront. If I was really mixing this, I mean, I am, but like if it was like it's my tune, I was mixing it, like it's been 2 hours and I've just kind of been edit. I take a break. I come back to it later today or tomorrow and then see there how it all like, do I still like those decisions or do I want to tweak again? But like I'll have less to do tomorrow because of all the things I've done today. I just need my ears just need a break. That's all it is. So yeah, I'll A-B it. I won't play the whole thing, but we'll listen through to it. No mix. Let's do a bit with just like how it started before I did anything, and then listen to it kind of after I did all the mix stuff. And then maybe stick like a clip of the mix down like in the description of like the Patreon posts and stuff, so you can kind of compare the two on your own system. And then yeah. I don't mix other people's tunes often, but it's nice to have an objective look instead of I made this. Why does it sound bad? So cool. There'll be a couple more videos after this with the other set of stems, but I hope you learned something. Hope it makes sense. Hope like, you see a little bit of something you do within what I do, and like maybe like, oh, I never thought about that before. Let me try that. And if you have kind of, your own little bits of advice, or hey, maybe Winslow, this might work. It goes along with something you like to do, but in a different sort of way, always reach out. There's a back and forth learning. It's not just me spewing information and you're supposed to take it like as the gospel, because we all have our different approaches. But at the end of the day, we just want things to sound good. So let me let these play out for a little bit and then be on your way. Thanks for hanging out with me for like 2 hours. So here we go. We're back. Let the regular mix play for a bit. And then everything I did. All right, I gotta unmute it first, dummy. That's what it was. And now let's hear what I did. Hopefully it's decent. yeah. So that's it. That was me mixing down Lost and Found bootleg or something by Krispe. Yeah. If you have any questions, as usual, stick them down in the comments. Get at me in a message. All of them super approachable, as you know. And yeah, hope that kind of showed you my process. It's always changing, always ever like evolving, but like that's usually what I do. Yeah. Yeah. Later.